No.
Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our highly inspirational guest today is
Paul Garrigan.
Welcome.
Oh,
Paul.
thank you, Paul. We had a few tech issues yesterday. We're having a few little tech issues today. Sandra might disappear, but she'll come back again on another computer. So yeah, all good, all good. So thanks, Paul, for giving your time and joining us today. We're dead excited to find out more about PACT Mantality, which we will find out more about later. But first, we shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things this week. Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, go on, I'll go first this week. So I met a lovely, lovely girl called Sasha, who came over from Ukraine some time ago, actually, and is an ice skating protege from Altrincham, but she's moved to Prescott, and she's very, very bright girl. And just a lovely, lovely girl. She's 8 years old, nearly 9, and she speaks Russian and English, and she started a new school and moved house and everything. And so she's had quite a journey and really lovely. She's got her cat with her, which was her priority. So there we go.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well done. And we'll look out for her in the future, little Olympian. What about you, Paul? Have you got any little people?
Yeah, I'd say a big shout out to all the kids in the schools. We've just started, I think there's 12 schools we've started in for the I Am project. So we've took that into schools. It started this week. And we've been working with all the year 8s. I've been with all the kids in West Derby school. So yeah, big shout out to all the kids there.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I'm going to give a shout out to every single child who's gone back to school, because it's a little bit daunting, isn't it, going into a new class? You've got new uniforms. Some of them have got different friends. So a massive shout out to all of them. And I know that there's a few who have actually in the specialist provision have gone back today. So they've gone back today, and there was a gorgeous little picture of a few of my little people with their new uniforms on going into school, which is like the cutest thing ever, isn't it? So just good luck to you all, and just enjoy every day, you know. So brilliant. We've got loads of little people. Success of the week for you personally, something that's happened to you that's been amazing. Do you want to go first, Sandra? Want me to?
I'll go first this week because I let you go first last week.
Yep.
Mine is always a highly trivial successes. But I've just done an amazing shop at Lidl, and that's going to bring me on to my this or that in a minute. What I got for 37 quid, I can't believe. So we're not sponsored by any company. Can I just say, I did it on the way, and I thought, I've got loads there, and I was made up with myself. So that's a mini success, but there we go. I've got a garden full of tomatoes now. We've got a glut of tomatoes, every one of them green. And I don't think we're going to get them to go red unless we pick them and put them in the window, which I'm a bit disappointed over, but there you go. That's what happens when you live in England.
Are they green tomatoes anyway and not red ones?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I saw the picture on the packet when I planted this seed.
Perfect. Jeff Hunter's listening, and he says, hi, guys. So hello to Jeff. Okay. So have you got another success, Sam?
No, I think that'll do me. I probably have, but I've forgotten it. But there we go. Well, I did come home. The house was gleaming because wonderful Lynn had been, and she's just fabulous. So that's everything from me today.
Brilliant. John Bullock, a past guest of ours, he says, Paul is doing great work. So John is Mr. Flo, the pain point coach. Yeah. So he's been our guest twice, I think, hasn't he? And Dave Verberg's listening in, and he says, top work evening, folks. So evening to Dave Verberg as well. So Paul, what's your success this week?
So this week, myself and my partner Carly, we've both had some really interesting meetings with some businesses, on our professional side of things, really, which is obviously what we're bringing, we feel is unique, it's pioneering, and we're trying to get businesses to obviously step into a new way, maybe of operating and showing up and creating new type of cultures. Yeah. And the amount of organisations and interest we've had in the work we're doing, it's been amazing. So we've had some really, really deep conversations this week about, stepping into some work. I think it was with the Taurus Foundation we met this week.
Brilliant.
It's an absolutely massive organisation. About doing some work with them in the workplace, but also in the community as well. So that's a massive success for us this week. And I'm sure it's the start of an incredible professional relationship with them.
100%. And we'll find out loads more in a bit. Okay, we want to keep it a little bit like, don't give it all away yet. So my success was that, so Sandra's going to swap over onto her laptop, so she might disappear, but she will come back in again. But she knows that I've been to Scotland, so she's cool. So yeah, our success was that I went to Scotland and we did SATPA, which is the Scottish Association of Teachers of Physical Education, and they did a big exhibition, and we took Lou and Whack-a-Ball, and it was ace. And they were, you know what, everybody, they were just so friendly, dead welcoming. There was about 150 PE teachers there, so perfect for who we want to speak to. So a massive shout out. I know they're not from Liverpool, but thank you for welcoming us, all that way. It was brilliant. And then Phil and I stayed with the dog for a few days, so we just had a nice little weekend, a little bit of a business thing into a weekend away as well. So it was lovely, and I just love Scotland. I just love it. It was just it was ace. It was just gorgeous. So massive shout out to everyone from there. Thank you very much for welcoming us. So we're going to play this or that. Okay. So Sandra, you can go first in case you disappear and then come back in again.
Okay. Lidl or Aldi?
Oh, who to, me or Paul?
Oh, Paul probably goes, I go to Waitrose and all that. Lidl or Aldi?
Lidl.
So I was Aldi, but we've got a Lidl opposite ours, so I started going there. And I think you sort of get used to the supermarket, but they are actual cousins, aren't they? Lidl and Aldi are cousins. That's how it all started.
We've got one by ours. We haven't got an Aldi, so.
Yeah.
I
always remember Marty Sanger was our past guest from Airborne Academy, and he'd gone into Aldi to get paracetamol and come out with a fire extinguisher. And he was like, it's just a mad shop, isn't it? You go in for something, come out with like random things.
Yeah.
So Dave Verbeek, he says it used to be Aldi, but now it's Lidl. Yeah. I think so. I think Sandra, you've appeared. I'm going to let you in on this one, and then you'll have to boot yourself. But your camera's not on the other one.
Okay.
I'm going to remove you off that one. Oh. She's disappeared. Oh, I think she's got it. Hang on a sec. We'll have to add you back. Need to add you back on that one because the other one's not connected.
Okay, I can't get on the thing of the other one, so we'll just have to see what this could go horribly wrong.
Okay.
But we'll just have to give it a go. It's just not charging at the minute. My laptop is full.
So Lidl then, Stan, what are you? Are you Lidl?
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't used to. I sort of I've always liked Lidl, but I got used to the Aldi near us now. But I hadn't been to Lidl for ages, and I went in today and did the best shop ever. So that was really cool.
So I think we've all gone Lidl on that one. Okay. So I want to say thank you to Corporate Connections. So that's Paul, myself, and Sandra all met through Brian Quinn from Corporate Connections. He introduced us all, so that was cool. And thank you to Brian, he sponsors the show. So it's all about people connecting in a business. And so I am going to ask you, Paul, would you rather work on your own or collaborate with somebody? So part of a collaborative or working on your own?
Absolutely collaborate.
Collaborate, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm the same. I'd rather collaborate as well. What about you, Sam?
So I used to 100% be a loner. Definitely. You've got to be really careful who you collaborate with in life.
100%,
I'll shock sometimes. You and me work brilliantly together. Somehow, how does it happen? You don't know. But if you collaborate and you get on with the person like a house on fire and you can trust them and everything, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had a couple of horrendous things happen in partnership, and you've got to be really careful.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Be very careful who you collaborate with, shall we say? Yeah. Okay. Go on, your go, Sam.
Theatre or cinema, which is a common one of mine, Paul.
I would say theatre, because every time I go to cinema, I fall asleep.
And that's quite a common answer as well, isn't it?
Yeah. In Star Wars.
Yeah. 100% theatre for me, and I think Sam, even though we love the cinema, I think you're theatre as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to try and just get this camera on, okay, and I'll be back with you because the laptop's going to die in 2 seconds, okay?
Perfect. If not, you'll have to come on your phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Cheers.
Yeah. Are you going? Bye-bye. Oh, she's gone. Right, okay, Paul, we'll carry on.
No
Okay.
problem.
Would you rather, and this will sort of come a little bit apparent when we talk about what you do.
Yeah.
Would you rather sit and watch the waves on the beach, or would you rather sit at the side of like in trees with a lake?
Probably rather sit in trees with a lake.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same. I think Sandra likes to sit by the beach and watch the water because if she gets her hair wet, it goes all frizzy, so she doesn't like getting her hair wet. So I think she might go beach because she likes to live by the sea.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last one would be jam or marmalade on your toast.
Jam.
Oh, jam. Yeah, I'm marmalade.
You marmalade?
Yeah, but I do love jam. Only because when we were in the hotel, they gave us like little pots, and you could have like jam or marmalade.
Yeah.
And I had marmalade, and I thought, I haven't had marmalade for ages.
Yeah. I always come home with loads of Nutellas for me little lad.
Yeah, that's what you say. The
four. About 10 Nutellas.
Brilliant. So we're gonna carry on. Okay, we're gonna carry on, and we're gonna give you more time to tell us your story. So, as I've just said, Brian Quinn from Corporate Connections met Paul, and then introduced. We got an email saying, "Meet this guy, Paul. He does great things." And myself and you and Sandra, we all had a coffee together. I think we booked an hour and we were there for about 2.5 hours because we were just like, and there was loads going on, and everything that you were talking about was amazing. So I'd like to introduce you and tell us where you started from and how you got to where you are now. And we'll mention Carly, but we don't want to give too much about Carly because we want Carly to come and be a guest, which is Paul's other half. But we want her to come on and share her story as Carly as well, because she's done loads of cool things as well, hasn't she?
She has, yeah.
Yeah. So over to you, Paul, and then I'll just jump in and ask you questions. And when Sandra comes back, she'll do the same.
So in terms of where did it all start, do you want me to talk about my life?
Yeah. I think it's important when we were having a chat about what you're doing now.
Yeah.
I think your life had a lot to do with where you are now. So I think if you can, just share what you want to share with us of how you've sort of got to where you are.
Okay, so I'll go quite deep into why I am where I am. I like to be quite open and quite transparent with why I'm so passionate about doing the work I do. So, I'm from Litherland and I'm the youngest of 3. And growing up, my dad suffered with alcoholism and mental health quite badly. There was numerous times that he tried to take his own life when we were younger, and that also had an effect on my mum. So as you can imagine, the household was probably a little bit rocky for a young boy to be brought up in. And probably about the age of 10, I started to really notice how maybe lonely and disconnected I felt. And I didn't feel like a sense of belonging. So that led me then to high school age, if you like. And I remember in high school, so many people used to say to me, "You're always angry. Why you're always angry?" And obviously young lads will always try and wind each other up and stuff like that in schools. But I was just very miserable. I was very sad. I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I used to actually go home. Sometimes when I was angry, I would punch stuff. So I'd actually broke my hand one time. I think there was a hole in every door in my house. I just had this like innate anger in me that I'd come from somewhere. And around the age of 14, I found boxing.
Cool. And which boxing gym did you go to?
It was North Mersey, ABC. It used to be in Litherland, and now it's in Seaforth.
Okay.
So I joined there when I was. You're all right, Sandra? Going upside down there.
We're having fun today, believe me. Right, let's just carry on. Sorry.
Put it that way, and then it should, or it might be on lock. It'll just automatically should change.
Upside down.
Right. So Paul started about when he was young, And he you know, Sandra, you know the story of like, you know, his dad was you know, and with drinking and things, and he was just an angry young person, and then you started high school and you were angry, and yeah, and lots of people do punch doors, don't they? I always think punch a cushion, don't break your hand.
Yeah, punch something soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had to hurt myself to learn the lesson there.
Yeah. So go on, you broke your hand.
Yeah, so I broke my hand at one time, yeah, and then when I was about 14, I started boxing, and I found a role model really in the local boxing gym, who's quite a well-respected man in our area, and I was applauded in that arena for my anger. So it was sort of an outlet for me, but it was also an opportunity for me to express myself and to find some sense of belonging, if you like.
Yeah.
Now, even though I had that, I was still having struggles maybe at home, and my own mental health was struggling. And around the age of 15, one time I went home and put my dad's tablets all on the top, and I just, you know, he was on like antipsychotic and antidepressants and stuff like that. He was on like lithium. I remember putting some tablets on the top, and I just took the tablets and I took a drink of water, and then I woke up the next day and I was just completely out of it. My eyes were gone. I had froth all around my mouth, but it was an attempt maybe to take my own life, but I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell my mum the next day. I didn't tell my dad. I never told anyone till I was 30 that I'd actually tried to do that. Bar Carly, she was the only one that knew.
Yeah.
So obviously that was maybe a failed attempt of me trying to maybe take my own life. That then led me to carry on my boxing from that point, but I was very, very empty. I was very numb, and I stopped boxing at about the age of 17. And from the age of 17, I then went on a downward spiral, if you like. I didn't have that male guidance. I didn't have that masculine in my life to be able to nurture me and, you know, to really, as much as my dad was an incredible person, I didn't have the person to be able to initiate me and bring me into masculinity in the right way that was needed. I had no compass point for what it was to be a man, if you like. So I went down a slippery slope, if you like, from the age of 17, and I started taking drugs. I was taking ecstasy probably at the age of 17, which led into about the age of 18, 19, led into cocaine, which then led into anabolic steroids. And I had my lad now who's 16. I had him when I was 19, just turned 19 when we had him. So I had a lot of pressure on young shoulders, if you like, and I was doing a lot of the wrong things. So by the age of 21, I was taking anabolic steroids. I was obviously taking cocaine. I'd stopped boxing, but I had myself a job as an engineer, which I was continuing to do. I was just partying, if you like, of a weekend, and just sort of being a Jack the Lad type of mentality of what I thought it meant to sort of be a man at the time in Liverpool. And it got to the point and to the extreme now with taking anabolic steroids, and with obviously, you know, being in the type of circles that I was in. I ended up working as an engineer, but then I ended up working on the doors in town as well. So that again opened another can of worms, if you like. I was getting myself involved in the wrong type of circles, and I was just crying out for this attention, whether that was from men, whether that was from women. I just wanted to be seen, whether that was being feared or whether that was being loved. I was getting some sort of attention. And then when I was 24, I ended up I was on 2 counts of assault with the police, and I was looking at maybe doing some time in jail. I'd basically lost my job as an engineer. I'd lost my badge on the doors that I had. And I was addicted to cocaine again, still on anabolic steroids. Second child on the way, was almost homeless, if you like. We'd left our house and we were in Carly's mum's and dad's, and basically, you know, we were in a little boxing room, if you like, and we also had a little boy. So literally I'd hit rock bottom. And I remember going into court, and it was in December 2011, it was, and they basically said to me, if you don't plead guilty, then you're going to be getting jail time. And video evidence arrived in the courtroom that morning. So I basically had to change my plea, otherwise I'd have been in jail for the birth of my second child. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it was the slap across the face that I needed to sort of wake up, because I was acting in ways that was never truly who I was. I was never a bad person. I was never a nasty person. I was always a sensitive man that cared for people, but I was hitting out and looking for attention in all the wrong ways. So at the age of about 25, I decided, what's the hardest thing I can do? How can I be sort of initiated? I was unconsciously looking for this initiation into masculinity, if you like. So what's the hardest thing I can do to prove myself as a man? So I joined the reserve regiment at the parachute regiment. And when I went there, I was like 14, 15 stone. And he basically said, you're going to have to lose some weight, and you need to run a mile and a half in 9 minutes. So it took me a couple of months, got my weight down, joined the training. I went through the training. I think it was 6 months training we had to do. And I think there's like a 70% fail rate or something like that.
It's really tough, isn't it?
Really tough. Like, it was like ridiculously tough. It was so tough. And I passed, basically got me maroon beret, was proud of myself probably for a day or two. And then I started to notice again, there's this emptiness, there's this sadness. I'm not satisfied and I'm feeling anxious. And I lasted probably about 18 months to 2 years doing that. And I started searching again for something else. And I knew there was just something wasn't right with me mentally and my feelings. And I was unable to integrate or process my emotions. And there was still this little burning bit of anger inside of me, if you like. So I thought, maybe it's money. Maybe it's money is what I need to get. So I went and got myself a job in Saudi Arabia. Which is, again, offshore, incredibly hard to get. Was hounding the life out of people on LinkedIn. If you look on me LinkedIn, I think I've got 4,000 contacts. I think most of them will be offshore from when I was trying to get in the offshore industry. I was just messaging people all the time. Got myself a start offshore. Was earning £350 a day. I was away for 28 days. I don't know how much that was. It was a lot of money that I was earning. But when I was going offshore and when I was on the helicopter, I was breaking down. I was falling into tears. I was having panic attacks. I thought I was going to die. I thought I'd never see my kids again. I was getting anxious attachment. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know these emotions as a man. I'd never felt. I'd never been shown how to process them. So after spending a couple of months, if you like, or a year and a half, I think I was offshore, and a couple of months in Saudi, I thought, well, now I've got all this money. It's not the money. Maybe I just need to be at home with my family, because maybe I'm just getting anxiety because I'm not with my family. So I got a job at home working for a telecoms company, firstly on the tools, then as a project manager. Again, I was earning maybe £1,000 a week doing that, working really hard, 60, 70-hour weeks, maybe not with my family as much as I wanted to be. But I had a house. Basically, I got myself a house, mortgage, 2 cars. I was going on a couple of holidays a year, lots of savings, 2 beautiful, healthy boys doing really well in the sport. Miserable, anxious, upset. Mentally, my thought processes weren't right. So I thought, okay, maybe it's because I'm working away while I'm at home, so I'll get a job at home. So I got into the office that I was working at for the company I was working with as a project manager. I hadn't done a project managing degree, but I've been on the tools. I had a lot of experience, but I am someone who can adapt to environments. So I made sure that I learned it. I applied myself, winged it, if you like. Sometimes Scousers were great wingers. So I got myself in the office, again, earning really good money. On paper, I should have been happy. I was only working 40-hour weeks, highly stressful job, but 40-hour weeks, and I was miserable, and I was still anxious, and I was having these panic attacks. So then I get to about the age, I'd say, of 28. I'm 36 now. So I'd say about the age of 28, I went to the doctors. And as soon as I went into the doctors, I said, I'm having panic attacks and there's something not right with me. So
what made you go to the doctors, Paul? What was the thing in your head that said, I need to go to the doctors now?
I think I got to a point where I felt like I was breaking down. I felt like I was maybe crying a lot. I felt like I was maybe drinking a little bit too much, maybe on weekends, and looking for ways out of my pain. I sensed that I was going maybe down the same path as my parents. There was an element of, I used to fear being like my dad.
Yeah.
I used to think my dad was mentally ill, so I'm going to be mentally ill. My mum struggled, so I'm going to struggle. So I had these maybe belief systems that I was going to struggle because they struggled. And that scared, and I can't swear, but I would say something else, but that scared the life out of me. I was terrified of being that person, and the way my dad ended up on the tablets that he was given and the antipsychotic medication that they give him, he never got a pathway off. So that used to terrify me.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll just go to the doctors and see what happens. Basically, they give me SSRI medication, which is, antidepressants, and it was citalopram I tried one time, and we also tried something called sertraline. Now, I'm not someone who's against medication, but that was the first line of treatment I was given. And did it help? It numbed the effects of depression, but it numbed the effects of happiness. Okay. And being a young man at the time, I'm still maybe a little bit young now, and maybe
you're still young.
Being a young man, and I'd taken anabolic steroids, it had affected my hormones anyway. When you take SSRIs, it lowered me testosterone levels. I got a testosterone check after I started taking them, and it lowered me testosterone levels that were already low anyway for a man. So basically, I decided maybe about the age of 30, after trying for a couple of years, that I wanted to come off the medication. And they were numbing who I was. I had no personality. I was tired all the time. I felt like I was getting problems with my stomach because, your sertraline can be generated in the stomach. There's a percentage of it that is generated maybe in the gut, and it's highly linked. The gut and the mind are highly linked. So I decided at that point, well, I'm going to come off, and I'm maybe going to, try alternative therapies, if you like. And because I had money and I was lucky enough to be able to access these therapies, I decided to start investing in myself. So I started maybe with some hypnotherapy. I was working with a guy called Vinny Shawman, who looks after a lot of fighters, and he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. I started with him, and I started doing maybe a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy stuff, which I found was maybe not giving me what I needed. Whatever was within me was deep rooted. So I started investing heavily then, working with some incredible teachers in Liverpool, meditation teachers, spiritual teachers, and psychotherapists, psychologists. And then I went further afield. So I started looking around the world. What are the best people I can learn off? Who are they? What are they doing? What books do I need to read? What podcasts do I need to read? What information do I need to digest to understand me? So I was looking at, some neuroscientists, some trauma specialists, doctors, nutritionists, fitness experts, men's coaches. I've been on men's retreats. And through doing all this work, if you like, on myself, around the age of 33, I thought, I've got all this information. I've got all these tools. I'm in a job that's paying me really well, but is it really what I want to be doing? Because I'm not satisfied right now in the job. So I decided at that point to start leaning into what is the reason I'm here? Why am I on this earth? Why do I want to be here? What do I want to create? Because everything I've tried to create in my life, I've pretty much done, even though some of it's been disastrous. I've achieved a lot of maybe what anything I put my mind to, I was bringing into manifestation. So I decided I'm going to think about what I want to do, and I'm really going to sit with it. And I've done it sometimes in prolonged meditations. I was sitting with actually what it was that I wanted. And I started to feel into men's work and feel into trauma work. And I was on a men's retreat, and I had a conversation with a guy called Ben Bidwell, and he's an incredible men's coach and a human potential coach from London. And the conversation we had was, I had the name PACT written maybe 6-7 years ago as a property development company.
Okay.
So I was looking at investing my money in property, be financially free, then I'll be happy. So I thought, and he said to me, why don't you tell your story, the stuff that's happened in your life, and the experience you've got and the heart you've got as a man, why don't you share your gifts with the world to help people maybe lean into what their gifts are? So after about 3 months of that, I'd writ a course.
How did you feel when he said that to you?
It was like a seed got planted.
Yeah.
Something happened in me that I always knew I was searching for, that I was looking for why I was here, that we're always seeking for something outside of ourselves. So what is it? And when he said that, something landed internally for me that just rang a bell in me. And I was like, that's it. That's why
And
I'm
did
here.
you tell anyone at the time? Did you go home to Carly and say, oh, you know, or to your family or anything like that?
I went
What was
home to
their
Carly
reaction?
straight away. I said to Carly, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna write a course. I'm gonna put all the information, all the money I've spent, all the incredible men I've worked with, the women I've worked with, every bit of information I've got, I'm gonna put into courses, and I'm gonna put it into courses for the average man to be able to digest this information without maybe going and having to travel the world to find these things out. So I'd done that. Within 3 months, I had the course writ. Within 6 months, I had the course out, sold out. I had men on the course. So I'd have a room full of 10 men and I was delivering my course. And that was fearful, stepping into being a man who is anxious and sensitive to now standing in as a man who's now leading other men and helping them look at themselves and helping them tap into their own gifts and their own talents. Because something I say to men is I don't want to just lead men. I want men to lead themselves, so we're all leaders. It's not about me being this special person and being this incredible mystic or guru or someone that's got any special powers. I'm just pointing you back to yourself and making you realise that you're superhuman when you start to tap into your own innate wisdom that lies within you. So obviously after seeing the success of my level 1 journey, I thought, I've got more. There's more in me that I want to give, and I'm only scratching the surface really, because we're not getting deeply into things. I'm giving them the best stuff. So now I'm going to give them the best stuff, but I'm going to take them a little bit deeper into themselves. I'm going to take them into the shadow elements of themselves so they can explore their unconscious and understand the triggers and understand and start to lean into their own traumas that might be showing up and sabotaging their lives. So I released a level 2. And that was, again, incredibly successful. Men are diving into this work, which I think for so many of us is incredible to see that men are actually embracing this work and it's becoming more of a normalised thing. And for me, it's an absolute necessity for men
100%.
to be responsible for how they're showing up in the world, not just for themselves, but for the kids and for the generations after them, and also for the goodness of their own relationships that they're in with the partners. I think it's so helpful and brings about so much change if we can continue to get men to lean in and step into this work. So,
definitely. So sorry, Gail's listening. Gail Morton's listening, and she says men's mental health is so tough and needs more men to talk. And then she says you just need to be an advocate and teach men it's okay to talk. And I think if you think about what's happening like now to what was happening, you know, a few years ago, I do think, you know, we have advanced and it is acceptable and you know, we want people to talk and I think people like you know, you are like a man with, you know, you've got the beard, you've got, you know, you go to the gym, so you're not like an airy fairy, you know, bloke or anything like that, you know. So, and I think when you've got a story and you're relatable to other men because of your story, is that, you know, of what you've done. I think when you're relatable, people go, oh, he knows what he's talking about.
and just to share a little further on what Gail said, I do, you know, I fully agree. Men need to talk. And I think Paddy the Baddy shared something last year on his friend. I think his friend took his own life, and he's like, men need to talk. And my spin on that is men do talk because men come into my room and men talk. So how can we as a society and as a system create spaces and healing architectures for men to step into and talk? Because if the right environment is created, men will talk.
But you know, Paul, you were saying working offshore, for example, being in the TA in the paras and things like that. They're all things where, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a bloke, but I imagine there's what we would stereotypically regard as highly masculine, testosterone-fueled environments. Am I wrong? And you know, so if you think of those environments, when you were in those environments, would you have felt comfortable talking openly with other guys, or?
No, I think again, I feel that that environment maybe isn't created. They're not creating, like, there isn't a healing architecture, and there isn't a healing system in place. There isn't a safe space created for men to talk. It's sort of it's hyper masculine. It's go go go. It's do do do. It's more more more. There's a lack of presence around how these industries, if you like, and how society, if you like, for me is showing up. I don't like to just address the individual. I like to look at the collective, because so much of the time we put the onus on, well, the man needs to be like this, or the woman's struggling, and it's on the woman. But it's like, okay, well, what part is the systems that are in place within the working environment? How is that affecting the person? And something I did say when we met in the Costa, and it's a lovely analogy I like to use, is if the three of us were looking after a flower, and that flower was not being nurtured correctly and it died, is it the flower's fault? We wouldn't say.
I remember you saying that was really impactful. The other thing which really impacted me when you were talking was, and we were talking about guys and positive role models and things, and you went through the stages of what we think it is to be a man, you know, and how you celebrate becoming a man. Do you want to just sort of expand on that for me? Because I was like, oh yeah, that's like, you know, that really, and I thought that's dead true. That
Okay, so obviously a lot of my work is centered around rites of passage and initiation. So if we look at tribal times, for instance, you know, even in tribes now, it's still done. The young boy, if you like, that was between the age of 10 to 14, he would be taken away from mum's arms, and he would go away with the men of the tribe. The men of the tribe would take him away, and he would be put through some experiences. That may be a near-death experience. That may be experiences where he gets to prove himself as a man. He gets to overcome his fears and any obstacles that may be getting in his way. When he came back to the tribe, he would then be looked upon by the women and the men as a man. He would be given, sometimes he'd be given a different name. So he'd be acknowledged, and he would have been initiated into masculinity in a way that was seen fit for the tribe. Now, when we look at the men in the West and in this part of the world, there's no initiation. Young boys, if you like, at the age of 10 to 14, 10 to 18, you know, young men are killing each other. Young men don't know how to harness their aggression. They don't know how to harness their anger. They don't know who they want to be. There's maybe a lack of male guidance in their life. Families are broken. Parents are being made to work longer hours than they've ever worked before. So there's a problem, if you like, with the family system. And these young boys are acting out in ways that are maybe toxic because of maybe environments that they're being brought up in. And there's a lack of initiation. So if you said to me, what was an initiation when I was 16? I would say it was maybe having a fight. It might have been having sex for the first time. It might have been taking drugs. And as soon as you did that, maybe you had sex for the first time, you go and see all your mates, and everyone's like, yeah, now you're not a virgin. Yeah, fist bump, now you're a man. Or my dad would shake my hand, and my uncles would be like, well, now you're a man. Well in, lad, now you're a man. Or he'd take me for a pint on my 18th birthday. You're a man now. This is what it means to be a man. Go to the pub. This is what men do. These are the initiations that are maybe unhealthy, that then lead to toxic behaviors, because maybe the men who came before us with the best of intentions have come from a wounded generation before them. When we look at maybe transgenerational and ancestral trauma, that we are the end product of the war generation, of parents that went through PTSD. How could they not have suffered during them times, if you like? And we're now sitting in the aftermath and the transgressions of what took place then, and it's now looked upon maybe as normal. So the abnormal has become normalized. That men treat women in a certain way, that women maybe treat men in a certain way, that men were made to maybe go to work. We were the provider, we were the conqueror. We give the woman the money and looked after her and protected the home. The woman would stay at home and nurture the children and nurture the man. Now that's not expected. Men now are doing the same things that we used to do. We're going out, we're going to work, but now the woman can work. Now the woman's working, now the woman doesn't need the man in the same way that the woman did, because now she's providing for herself, so he's not having to provide everything that he used to have. So now men are being called to more depth, because we need to show up in more ways. Women are holding men to a higher standard. Not only do we need to be able to go out and work, but we need to be able to feel them. We need to be able to feel a woman more deeply. We need to be able to attune to what a woman needs more deeply. If a woman's going to work for 12 hours a day and so is a man, then whose job is it to nurture who? So there's maybe a loss of identity maybe playing out in masculinity right now, which is what we're seeing maybe in suicides, and we're seeing in men's mental health, and with men in the workplace, and maybe with men and relationships. There's also a feminine part of this that takes place as well. That there's the rise of the masculine feminine, that we want to beat men and we need to overpower men, and that can come from a wounded place, that is coming from a derogatory place to men, that then a man is not able to feel like a man anymore. He's being demasculinated, if you like, because now he doesn't need to provide and conquer, and now the woman doesn't need him. He might lack purpose in his life, and he lacks an identity, because for so long we've been used to maybe showing up in the world in that way, and we're being asked to do different things, which can be really uncomfortable for men.
Yeah. So Gail says there's a group in Liverpool that's a safe space for men, but her men wouldn't go. So she's got a lot of young. She's got young sons, but they're like in their 20s, like young teenagery sons. I look after my youngest with mental health, and he now talks to me, but it was difficult to get him to open up. I've nearly lost him. I nearly lost him for him to do that. It's so difficult for men to talk in comparison to women. And my Uncle Ron, who's listening in, my Uncle Ron says, would national service have helped?
I think national service, for me, gives young men some sort of direction and purpose, and it gives them that community and brotherhood, which is something I'm so passionate about, is creating a community for men and a brotherhood connection, that they realise that they're not the only man. I feel national service, to put men maybe in the army, if you like, is there elements of the army for me that are quite toxic, that we're sending people, maybe young men, to war that may not want to go to war. And war for me is something I don't agree with. I believe war should be a last resort, and we're living in a collectively traumatized world, that people are still going to war. That we look at obviously what's happened in Russia and Ukraine, and a lot of people, in ways, we're right. The media feeds into, there's a lot happening in Ukraine, and everyone's siding with just Ukraine. But there's probably a lot of Russian people that don't want to be in war, that are being forced to go to war, and are being penalised by the global elitists, if you like, and other countries for going to war. But they're not in control of what their governments may be doing. They don't want to hear people.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are forced into things they don't want to do, aren't they? It's not necessarily them. And also, it's important to say that there's people who have different identities as well, that not all people might look at and regard as men all feel the same way. They're different, but I think what you're saying is very valid as well for those who need it and want it very much so. And I think the work you're doing is excellent, and you're probably putting yourself out on a limb sometimes, and I bet there's some people who look at you quite critically. I'm someone who likes to have a door open, let's just get this straight. But some people don't like that, and it's quite controversial, isn't it? And I think sometimes men are worried almost to open a door for someone in case they get so. Whereas I just see it as polite, and it's a nice thing, and I'd open the door for someone as well myself. And I think problems is society can be quite judgmental, can't they? So they can judge someone for wanting to be a certain way, etc. But for me, it's about just live and let live. And if you are somebody who maybe lacked direction growing up, I think it's really valuable to have the input from somebody like yourself. And there are so many people who are in one-parent families, and I grew up in a one-parent family. And you do, when you're older, you do realise that you've got a little gap there, and I think it's much worse for a boy to grow up without a dad than a girl,
It's something we did speak about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And listen, I am fully for, like, my mum fought battles that I don't think I could ever go through. Like, she has overcome and been so strong in my life, and she's had a really tough time. And, you know, the women out there that are doing and living these lives and having to be there and having to show up as the dad are incredibly powerful, that they're having to do both jobs. But for me, there's an element of it that no matter how much a mother tries to be a father, a mother cannot fill the void of the father. Like a father can never fill the void of a mother. So if that void is left empty for young men will unconsciously seek that. They will unconsciously seek it in elders. They will look for it on the street. They will look for it in the pub. They will look for it in different ways. If they've had no maybe GPS or compass point for how to treat a woman, show them how the men treat women, how will that play out in their lives if their dad's never been there? How will they treat women? There could be an underlying reason for why they show up in the world the way they do and why they're getting in certain relationships that they do. It's incredibly important that young men have men in their lives. And sometimes, you know, grandfathers step into this role, don't they? And for me, a boxing coach stepped into that role at a time that I needed him. Like he was he was that compass point, but I was always looking up to maybe older men. Because as young lads, we want to be accepted by older men and we want to do what they do, if you like. And I think that, you know, that really does play out in society. And I think that young boys, certainly, you know, the ages of 10 to 18 are crying out for male initiation. And we're really at a point in humanity, if you like, that we need healthy masculinity to show up.
Yeah. So we've talked about your level 1 and your level 2. And the courses that you've created. How do people access the courses?
So they usually message me on Instagram. I like to have a people-centered approach. I like people to have a feel for me. I like them to have some sort of connection with me. So I'll have a conversation with them. And, you know, if they want to get booked on, they can book on. I just send them the details. I speak to them on WhatsApp as well. Also, they can go onto the website. And we've got a website where they can just book on via the website as well, which should have all the course dates and everything that's coming up for what we're doing.
And we'll share all of this on our page so that everyone can follow and things. But and it's not just men; it is for women, and that's the female women's side is run by Carly, who's your partner, isn't it? Yeah. But you can tell us this much about a little teeny weeny bit about because she's going to come on.
I'm going to meet her as well.
So Carly, yeah, so she, after obviously her seeing my struggles were probably very out there in the open for people to see. Now, with Carly's struggles, she had the mask of being the superwoman, the mum, the super mum, the mum who could do it all and can do it all, but she didn't need to do it all. So she was out there being a mum of 2 kids, being a nurse, being a professional athlete, but inside unable to feel and crumbling, and was maybe trying to maybe get this success because of what had happened previously in her life. She went on to achieve everything she wanted to achieve, things that I was always dreaming of as a kid, wanting to achieve. She's been on the stages that most can only dream of getting to in professional sport, and obviously also being a nurse. Like, her story is just absolutely incredible. But after seeing my struggles and seeing the transformation that took place within a very short period of time when I started investing in my own self-development, she started to go on her journey. So rather than me tell her, she just seen that the proof was in the pudding. If I'm investing in myself and I'm doing this work and look how great I'm looking and I'm feeling, then if she was to maybe step into some of this work, what would happen? So she's done exactly the same. She's went into women's work. She's heavily invested in herself. We've done a lot of work together in courses, but we've done a lot of separate work. I think working together and bringing our relationship together is an absolute must, because we have our own work, if you like. We have our own stuff.
Yeah.
When we show up in life, when we're single and when we're doing our own, you know, adventures in the world and our own tasks. But then bringing it together in a relationship, we're intertwining each other's stuff. So we're putting our stuff on the other person. So it's equally important that we have to divulge in our own relationship work and bringing our own traumas to the surface, and that has been incredibly difficult. But something that Carly, you know, is incredibly gifted at. So she steps into them arenas with me. It's been very painful at times, but we're reaping the rewards of what we do. And, you know, we step into this work. And for me, we have to go deeply into ourselves, because you can only hold someone as deeply as you've gone into yourself. Mm-hmm. We can only help them as much as I've helped myself. So if I don't help myself and I don't work with the best people in the world, then how can I help the people of this city and the people that I love and the city that I love?
Yeah, amazing. I love it. I think it's brilliant. So what's the future then, Paul? What's the future for what do you want? How can we help you? How can we help you? Because what happens is people come on here and then they just go on to do amazing.
You'll be on the BBC next, like everyone else.
You know what, I'll tell you something really quick, and then I'll tell you what I want, right? Just something that, an opportunity, and when you start to align and you start to synchronize life, things just start to happen. Yeah, like it's incredible when you just become more aligned with what you want. So a couple of weeks ago, I got a message on Instagram of a girl from London who said, do you do men's work? I've got this offer I want to speak to you about. So I was like, okay, let's chat. Tell me what it is. I thought it was someone trying to blag me or have me off for money. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a ring and stuff. So we had a conversation. Then we had a Zoom meeting, and it was for a TV program, a pilot for father and sons. And she said, I've looked at your page. You've been recommended. I've spoke to a lot of people about the work you do. So I'd like to ask you to come down as a mentor and facilitator.
Boss, really?
So not last week, the week before, I got basically taken down to High Wycombe. It was, and we done a week's worth of filming. So I had to go down with a father and son, both of them in the fire brigade, both of them hyper masculine, that had their own issues, if you like, that had shown up in their life that maybe they were unable to uncover and open up in their own lives together. So we done certain practices with them, and I can't share exactly what they are until it's released. But obviously we got some incredible results. We got some emotion. We got father and son having battles with each other. We got so much transparency. It was just a beautiful, incredible, amazing opportunity. Now, if you asked me even 6 months ago, do I think that I'd have been able to go on a pilot TV show? I'd have probably said no.
Was that after you'd had the coffee with me and Sandra?
You took the words
I think you must have put something in the coffee. Yeah, it was because of you guys, yeah.
It's not that you've done anything for yourself, it's because you had the coffee with me and Sam.
You with a good luck. So yeah, I went down for a week in London. We done a week of filming.
Brilliant.
And it's basically, I'm going to in March. I'm going to London. I think it's the British filming studios. So there's like it's meant to be like it's quite a famous studio where they'll put, they'll do a screening. So we're going down for the screening. I think it's only going to last like half an hour, this screening. And, I think maybe the BBC and different television companies are going to be there, and they're going to see if they want to maybe take the show further. Now, for me, even if they don't, I've had an incredible experience. I've done something that I've never thought I'd do. When I die, my kids come watch it and say the dad was a tiny bit famous.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing opportunity for me to have been involved in. And it made me actually want to take this work mainstream. I'd love to take this to the BBC. I'd love to have the work I do televised. If we could get a group of 10 men to come and show this work, to get it more normalised, that it becomes more of a social norm, if you like, for people to go, you know what, I'm going to go and do some men's work, and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to do initiations, and actually I'm going to go and be the absolute best version of me, not for anybody else, but for me.
Brilliant. I love it. So Leon says, great chat. He's got an idea of some intros. He'll message you on LinkedIn. Dave Verbeek, I like the song lyric from Katie Katie Tunstall that describes everyone sails alone, but we can travel side by side. And Gail says, best of luck to you. Brilliant. I love that. So massive thank you for sharing everything that you've shared with us. We have got a little tiny weeny bit to rock on with, but we'll share Paul's details all over our socials, and you can get in touch with them. And I'm sure this is like, the beginning of an amazing thing that you're going to start doing.
Can I share one more thing that we're stepping into?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So what we are stepping into, which is the biggest part of my work that I'm spending time doing now, is we're stepping into the corporate world. Brilliant. So we're taking our work into the corporate and commercial world, and we've had courses accredited, so mental wellness, trauma-informed, and human development. So my vision's just got, has got that much bigger again, that I want to make the Liverpool City region, I want to make the Northwest region, I want to make it a trauma-informed space. Brilliant. I want to create different cultures within the working environment. I want to create healing architectures in the working environment. I want bosses to be able to know your family's name. I want people to have a sense of belonging in the workplace, that we intertwine personal and professional development. So it's no longer I'm taking my work home with me and I'm bringing my home life into work with me. The more that I achieve personally, the more I can hold professionally.
Yeah,
so we're creating
100%.
Yeah,
I agree with everything you've just said.
Yeah, we want to develop ecosystems. So in an ecosystem, we're stepping away from ecosystems where people are just surviving. We want to make people thrive. In ecosystems, people thrive. I lift you up, you lift me up. We collaborate, we connect, we create a coherence within the working environment, which then has a ripple effect on the people around us, on the generations after us, and on the people who came before us.
Absolutely. And I think where the workforce is changing, workplaces are changing, and successful organisations really need to move with the times now and step ahead of the game, because toxic work environments are so outdated and there's no place for them now. So well done, and I wish you all the luck in the world with that. Fantastic.
Defo. Red face San, what have you got?
No, I'm all right, I think, unless you can think of it.
No, but so on Saturday I dropped my phone down the toilet in the hotel and it wouldn't connect, so I didn't have a phone because it got water damage, but then it was all right. Goes to Stirling Castle, and if you've ever been, it's a big massive huge hill, and it says car park this way. So there was all these cars, and I went past and I just started driving up, and this woman jumps out and she goes, no, she goes, you're gonna get squashed by a coach, because all the cars that were on the left hand side were in the queue waiting to go up.
Oh no.
So I had to reverse all the way down the hill, but this lovely man let me in. So thank you to the lovely man who let me in. That's
the type of thing I do. Go think, why? Oh, they're all parked. Oh God, no.
Yeah, I thought they were all parked, but they weren't. They were in the queue for the thing. So never mind. So that's mine.
Cool.
So I've got a few embarrassing stories, ones that are too bad to put on here.
Have you got one that's not too bad?
One
that's not too bad, but it's quite funny.
Go on,
I think it's funny anyway. So when I was 16, I had a boxing fight and I had to go to Hull. So it was in the quarterfinals of the NABCs. So it was like the championships. And I'm warming up and I hadn't seen the kid who I was fighting. But I've been sick. In fairness to me, I boxed 2 weeks ago sick. And won. So I won when I was sick. But I felt the repercussions of fighting when I was sick. So I was sick for a week after it, got through to the next round, and I boxed in Hull. I was warming up, hadn't seen the kid, get in the ring, and before I got in the ring, my boxing coach, Sid, said to me, when you get in the ring, wink and blow a kiss to the lad. So I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll do it, yeah. I was confident, yeah. Even I felt tired though in the warm-up, like I was feeling it. So I'm just trying to give myself excuses here for why it happened. So I blew a kiss and I winked at the lad. And the lad, he was massive, looked big, looked tough. So I come out, start the fight, and he absolutely done me in. So that's the last time I will ever wink or blow a kiss at a man. Yeah, that was an experience for me.
Brilliant, I love that. Shout out to the grown-ups. I'm going to give a big, massive, huge shout out and loads of love to Danny de Bravender. who's going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. But on Sunday, he's having his football game, and it's at Heswell Football Club and Family Fun Day. There's loads of stuff going on. Playing the footy match, I think it's a £5 on the door. But also fingers round all his sound for Friday for him. He's just a truly inspirational guy. So we're sending big love over to him. What about you, San?
100% for Danny Brabander as well. And also, I'd like to give a big shout out to Fran Darcy, who's been on our show before, along with Michelle Duckworth from the Big Help Project. And just if anyone can help them out, they're doing a Strictly event on Saturday night at the town hall. And unfortunately, the college that we're going to provide them with volunteer students have pulled out for some reason. So if there are any hairdressers, chances are slim, I know, available 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. this Saturday, who would like to help us out at the Big Help Project for the Strictly competition or their version of it. If you could DM us, please, or contact the Big Help Project directly, that would be wonderful. And it's Fran Darcy and Michelle Duckworth who would organise that event. Just an hour and a half of your time would make the difference to how all the volunteer contestants feel. And they are raising thousands for charity for the event.
Yeah, they've already raised over £6,000. So big shout out to everybody. Brilliant. What about you, Paul? Who are you shouting out to the grown-ups?
So my grown-up would be my boxing coach, Sid. I still coach in that gym now. So I go in the gym and I'm still part of the gym, and it's still a community for me to be a part of and to give back all my wisdom from my life experiences to the younger kids. But also it's great to go in there and spend time with my old coach, who for me, you know, he's absolutely crazy. He's a boss fella, love him to bits, and he's so respected in the community. He's so invested in helping the kids. He's run the gym basically on a shoestring, and he's invested all his own money in the gym. He's never had any funding. He's never applied for funding. And it's just something that I feel he has maybe 20, 30 kids in for one class, and then he'll have about 20, 30 adults in for another class. And he's done it really just because it's something that he loves doing. So he is, you know, maybe the vision of commitment of what that means, and discipline, and you know, just relentlessness in what he wants to do and what he loves. So it'd be a massive shout out for him and everything that he's probably done for me.
And which gym is it, Paul, please? Which gym is it?
It's North Mersey ABC.
Okay.
Yeah, well done. And there's loads of boxing coaches, isn't there, who are dedicated to this? And it is dedication and commitment to be a boxer. But well done, Sid.
Penny for it. They don't take a penny. I think they charge kids. Basically, boxing's, you know, it's a working class sport. They're charging kids £3, £4 to come into a gym 3 times a week, and none of the coaches are really making money. That's just to none of them are making money. That's just to make the gym tick over, if you like.
To let it run. Yeah. Well done, Sid. Yeah. What are you reading, San? Listening to?
I'm listening to on Audible Outliers this week by Malcolm Gladwell. Someone said to me, "You're an outlier," and I thought, and then that came up on Audible, and I thought, right, I'm going to investigate that.
Yeah, it's very good. I've done that one. I'm reading the Thursday Murder Club book number 3, which Uncle Ron gave me, because book number 4 is out. And then we went to book number 1. I don't know where it is, somewhere. So I said to Phil, I said, it'll be in one of the charity shops. The first charity shop that I walked into in where did we go to?
Scotland.
In Scotland. In Kilmarnock. Thanks, Phil. In Kilmarnock. Walks in, and there's the book. The Thursday Murder Club book number 1. So on that one. Brilliant. Yeah. What about you, Paul? What are you reading? Podcast, anything?
I'm reading 2 books at the minute, and it is a podcast I listen to sometimes. So obviously I'll share the 2 books. So I'm a bit of I can get a little bit heavily invested in reading. Sometimes the kids will come in and be like, "Oh, my dad's reading." So it's something that I have to work on, like people with the phone. I'm like that with a book.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So it's the better of the bad, maybe. So I'm reading something called Meeting the Shadow. And that is obviously about shadow work, something that I'm deeply invested in and learning about and constantly refining my own skills. And there's a book that I would recommend to anybody that is struggling, that has got an open mind and would like to find out more about themselves, and something that I feel would really help them. It's a book that really did start to shift my perspective as well. And that's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. Dives into the realms of quantum physics, and it's basically how our thinking and our feeling shapes our reality. So it's an incredible book.
Fabulous. Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
I'm just writing that down.
Breaking the
Perfect.
habit.
Yeah, breaking the habit of being yourself. So massive thank you, Paul, for sharing that. I think we've had lots and lots of comments. Thank you to everyone who's commented, listening in. I think it's been really inspirational. I think people are, hopefully shifting that way, shifting the way, just being kind humans. Massive thank you to Sandra. Our tech issues will all hopefully fix themselves. Yeah. So Paul, do you have a closing quote, mantra that you live by that you want to share to close the show?
Turn your pain into your purpose, and whatever's happening in your life isn't in the way, it's on the way to where you're going.
I love that.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody
so much for the opportunity, both of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we'll see everybody next week. I am just going to finish. Thank you. Oh, I haven't pressed the button.